Hello, everybody. Welcome to the 2024 District 5 County Supervisors Forum. I appreciate you all joining us here tonight. We're also live on the Facebook, the YouTube, and Channel 28. So give our fans at home a nice wave. Thank you all for joining us. We're hoping to have a great forum tonight. For those of you who don't know, I'm Valerie Zizak-Moraes, President and CEO of the American Canyon Chamber of Commerce. I'm accompanied by my board chair at the Chamber of Commerce, Tom Phillips, and we are bringing your questions tonight from the Chamber. They have been developed by a committee, and we've also taken some questions from the community. Why we have the candidates forums is because we would like to provide a neutral educational platform for our community where you can receive information to make the voting process easier for yourself. So you can rewatch this video while you go to fill out your ballot, or just if you need to hear anything replayed. Few housekeeping notes. Please keep your phones off, keep chatter to a minimum. Please no negative banter from the crowds, and don't forget to get your DoubleTree cookie. It makes for a great little snack while you listen to our candidates talk. Also, one more thing, I want to give a huge shout out to our sponsors tonight. We have Napa Valley TV here broadcasting for us, and Western Wine Services has greatly offered to be our sponsor to help pay for the media so that we can bring all the resources here tonight. We also have given everybody one of these little pamphlets. If you have not got one yet, it does include a couple questions that were asked to the candidates, a little small. It will be online to read as well. You'll see on the back that I put a little bit of voter information there. We're going to be holding a voters educational session at the Chamber of Commerce on February 12th. This is a way to encourage new voters to come out and learn about the voting process, or if you have any questions on how to register to vote or the importance of voting. So our age target for this is 18 to 35. We really would like to increase the voter population of American Canyon and spread the word to the young voters of the importance of your local community elections. So if you know anybody that would be a good candidate to come out to this, that'll be on February 12th, 6 to 7 p.m. at the Chamber of Commerce here in American Canyon. So if you didn't receive this information, it is in the back, and of course all this will be on our calendar and you can join us there. So how tonight is going to work. We are giving the candidates questions. They have not seen the questions. This will be the first time they're hearing them. They will have 3 minutes to do an intro, 2 minutes to answer each question. They'll have a 2-minute closing, and then we are asking for questions from the crowd here tonight. So you should have received a little piece of paper. If you haven't received that, Beth's in the back. She has those paper for you tonight. Alan, my employee, so Beth Marcus is an employee of the Chamber of Commerce. She's brand new. We just brought her on last week. We have Alan Quisenberry. He is my right-hand guy and has been for a while now. He's going to be keeping time. He's going to be communicating with the candidates so they know how much time they have. I also have my son up here in the front of the room, Isaac Moraes. He works for us. If you have any questions or needs, any of the employees here can help you. So we're going to get started tonight because I don't want to waste everybody's time, and we've got a nice sheet of questions. So we don't have a coin. We need to do a coin toss to see who goes first. Does anybody have a coin?
Who carries coins?
Let's see who has a coin. I think you should get an extra cookie if you have a coin.
Hugh's got a coin.
All right, Hugh. Always coming to our rescue. You can flip. All right. So
Who's going to call?
who wants to call? All right. Belia for heads. And we have a head. Belia's up. All right. Okay. So what we do is with each question, we'll switch off on which candidate starts. So Belia will start, and then Miriam will start the second question, and we'll go back and forth from there. All right. Belia, would you like to start with your introduction? You will have 3 minutes.
Great. Thank you so much. Thank you to the Chamber for hosting this forum once again, and to you, all of the community members, for coming out to listen to the issues that matter to all of us. As your supervisor, each and every day, the work you entrust me to do touches people's lives. It affects how people feel about where they live and where they work, and I take that responsibility seriously. During my time as your supervisor, I have focused my efforts full-time on ensuring that I am addressing the issues that matter and affect us all. I have been a champion on housing. Just last week, I became the president of the Association of Bay Area Governments, seated at the head of the table where decisions on housing and regional planning are made. And in fact, American Canyon's supervisor has never before served on the Association of Bay Area Governments, and I am only the second Napa County supervisor to be serving as president. I have been an advocate for traffic congestion relief, pushing forward the Saw-Skull Junction project that is currently under construction, advancing those STIP dollars from Caltrans to ensure that we had mobility solutions now. As an incoming Metropolitan Transportation Commissioner, I'm going to be seated again at the table where decisions are made on transportation to be able to move forward Napa County's mobility solutions. And in fact, American Canyon's supervisor has never before served on the Metropolitan Transportation Commission. And bonus round, Napa County, for the first time in its history, will have 2 commissioners on MTC because of the work that I have done through ABAG. Wildfire has been a real and pervasive problem for us here at the county. In my first year in 2017, I led this county through the state's most devastating and first mega fire. I know that resiliency and mitigation is incredibly important, and to that end, last year I personally proposed the creation of a fire services administrator currently hired in our last budget to ensure the implementation of a $50 million resiliency grant from FEMA, because our safety matters countywide. Our agricultural legendary past and present comes from people like my dad, right over there, a 52-year farm worker here in Napa County. I have the political courage necessary to ensure that I defend that agricultural identity and that I strike a balance between the state regulations, our environmental resiliency, and our economic sustainability. Tonight, you will hear that my leadership and my dedicated service is moving forward Napa County and placing American Canyon at the table where decisions are being made. Thank you.
Thank you, Belia. Miriam, would you like to give us your 3-minute introduction, please?
Absolutely. Good evening, everyone. Thank you for spending tonight with us and being civically engaged. And I want to give a special shout out to Valerie and the Chamber of Commerce for hosting us this evening. Thank you. And bringing us all together. My name is Miriam Abudamis, and I'm currently serving you in my 7th year on the American Canyon City Council. I'm also a practicing attorney in the realm of family law. As a council member, I am a member of the California League of Cities, where I began by being a member of the Housing, Community, and Economic Development Committee. And from there, I am now the president of the North Bay Division. So I'm working with policymakers up and down the state of California, also working on important issues that matter to the city, advocating for this city. I'm like giving eye contact to people, which makes me lose my train of thought. and fighting for local government. My dad always taught me that if I wanted to get something done, I can't just sit around and expect someone else to do it. I have to roll up my sleeves and do it myself. And I know many of you have heard the story at this point. When I first graduated from law school in 2015, I opened up a small office off of South Kelly Road where I was practicing immigration law. One day I left at the wrong time. You guys know what I mean by that, right? And it took me 45 minutes to go that 1.5 miles from South Kelly Road here to our home in American Canyon. And I threw a fit. I was beside myself, and I was like, this is not right. We need to do something about traffic. So I ran for city council, and I won, and here we are 7 years later. I'm still working on traffic issues, issues of housing affordability, and issues of climate resiliency. Now I'm running for Napa County Board of Supervisors because I genuinely care about this community. I want to make it better for future generations to come. I want to hear what you have to say, and I want to be your voice. My top 3 issues on the Board of Supervisors will be traffic, housing, and climate resiliency. I've recently heard people say that climate change or fire mitigation doesn't resonate here with us in American Canyon. How many of you were here in 2017 when that fire was being held right up the road? That was terrifying for us. We couldn't breathe just like everyone else. We were afraid. I had my luggage, my suitcase on the floor of my bedroom, trying to decide whether I should pack and evacuate or wait it out. And every time I'd open it up to start putting things in it, I would just start crying because we were affected by the fires in 2017. So I look forward to a more in-depth conversation with you this evening about the issues that are important to American Canyon, and I also look forward to earning your vote. Thank you.
Thank you, Miriam. We appreciate that. All right, we have prepared 7 questions for tonight, so we will go through all 7. Miriam is going to lead with the first one since Belia led with the last question. Here we go. Question number 1. You both ran for this seat in 2020 and now 2024. What have you done to better prepare yourself for the next 4 years as county supervisor?
That's an excellent question. So I did run for this seat in 2020, and in 2020 I was the top vote getter here in American Canyon. I lost by a very small margin. I lost by about 500 votes, and the area where I lost in is no longer part of the district. So the district in and of itself is already speaking differently. What have I done to better myself? Well, I've continued being involved. I've continued being a leader. I've continued advocating, and most importantly, I've continued working with each and every one of you. Almost all of you in this room have my cell phone number and know how to reach me. I have a proven track record at this point of proven results. I also have a proven track record at this point of being available and being willing to listen to you. I never enter a room with my mind already made up. And those are things that I've been doing since 2020. I have 7 years under my belt now, and people ask about experience for Board of Supervisors. 7 years of experience on the City Council does not make me brand new to this. I've been living in Napa County since I was 2 years old. Actually, since I was 1, but in American Canyon since I was 2 years old. I know this community deeply. My ties here, my roots here are very deep. And to be honest with you, being in local government is a lifelong learning process. I will continue learning, and I will continue growing, and I will continue doing what I can to advocate for this community.
Is that time? Okay.
There was like 15 seconds left.
All right. Thank you, Miriam.
Thank you.
And just to confirm, Ellen, we're going 2 minutes for the questions.
Yep.
Okay. Just want to make sure. Belia, this question is for you, the same question that Miriam just answered. You both ran for this seat in 2020 and now 2024. What have you done to better prepare yourself for the next 4 years as county supervisor?
Thank you. That's a great question. Now, a couple of things I will say. Every single day, dedicating myself full-time as a supervisor, that's what I've been doing. When I came to the county, we had a budget a little bit over $400 million, and now balancing a $680 million budget with 1,500 plus employees, making sure that I am involved in all of the decisions that are securing our revenue and delivering the services for our residents. So I'll start with, what am I doing? Let's talk statewide. Statewide, I just became treasurer of the State Association of Counties last week. Well, I'll be the person in charge of working on behalf of all 58 counties and working with the Department of Finance and the governor's budget to ensure that the unfunded mandates that come to the counties are better funded in this very dire budget season for the governor's office. I have made sure that I am at the table working with our treasurer tax collector, Bob Minahan, to ensure that our revenues are coming from the state, because right now with our decreased enrollment in schools, it is affecting our vehicle licensing fee and our property tax revenues. I have made sure that I have been consistently engaged and involved at the board in every single functional area, 17 departments. What we do at the Board of Supervisors extends beyond Tuesdays, and it means meeting with our labor unions. It means making sure that we're listening to our employees that are putting in the work. And in addition, I have made sure that I am advocating for my community at regional tables, whether it be through the Association of Bay Area Governments, through the Local Agency Formation Commission, or whether it's in my time on NVTA and soon to be at the Metropolitan Transportation Commission. I'm doing the work each and every day, and I'm prepared to continue to serve you as a senior-most member of the board next year.
Thank you, Belia. All right, we'll be moving on to our next question, and our next question will begin with Belia. Do you need another minute, or are you good to go? Okay. We know the county general plan is up for renewal. How will American Canyon benefit from you being part of the planning process?
That's an outstanding question because I'm the one that's been pushing for this process to start right now. And the reason why we have to update our general plan, while it is not out of date, our life has changed drastically since our general plan was approved in 2008. The general plan is our guiding document that tells us what is this place going to look like. It tells us what our caps, our ceilings are on development, and where our urban lines are at. But that document did not encompass our mega fires. That document did not encompass our very close cycle droughts. And that document did not encompass us losing 30 years of our unincorporated housing stock between 2017 and 2020 fires. So the time to be able to update that general plan is now, and I have pushed that forward, making sure that right now we have gone out to establish our baseline report so we can do that work. But in addition, what we have to be doing is engaging our community in that general plan process. The general plan is not just some document that you make and you put on the table. It's a document that has to live with you, and it has to reflect the values of our community. So I look forward to working with each and every one of you, and I really hope we get representation from American Canyon to serve on that general plan steering committee, because that's what's going to chart our future.
Thank you, Belia. Miriam, the same question will be asked to you. We know the county general plan is up for renewal. How will American Canyon benefit from you being part of the planning process?
So the Napa County General Plan is clearly outdated. It hasn't been revised since 2008, I believe. We just recently in the city of American Canyon went through a general plan update process. And what we did was we made sure that we had various advisory committees that included stakeholders from all the different areas of the general plan in order to make sure that we take all of your input and we incorporate it into what's important for our residents. One way that the city of American Canyon would benefit by me being on the county board throughout this process is because I'm a relationship builder. Something that I've been advocating for years now is strengthening the relationship between the cities and the county. There needs to be a much stronger relationship between all of the cities and the county. And one of the reasons for that, I'm going to give you an example. Affordable housing. We have the room to build it. And the county, we shouldn't just sit around and wait for the county to find land and build affordable housing. There's other locations throughout the county. For example, Harvest Middle School is no longer going to be a middle school, as we learned when Napa Valley Unified School District told us that they were shutting down a couple of schools throughout the valley. That's a site that could be used for affordable housing. And if there was a much stronger relationship between the county and the cities, we can identify more locations where housing can be built. So to answer the question in short, I'm a relationship builder, and I would advocate for the city of American Canyon to have a seat at that table because we are the second largest city in this county, and we make a difference in this county. And I believe that we definitely need to be heard. Thank you.
Thank you, Miriam. We appreciate that. Mm-hmm. All right, we're going to be moving on to our third question, and Miriam will be leading this one. Mm-hmm. It has been determined that 75% of jobs in Napa County do not provide a living wage. As county supervisor, how will you work to bridge this gap within our county?
A couple of ways. Something that I've always advocated for is a jobs housing balance. If you bring people closer to their jobs, it's going to cost them a lot less to commute to work. It's going to be helpful for our environment, and it's going to help them with their mental health. But in order to do that, we need to build more affordable housing. And when I talk about affordable housing, American Canyon, we've done our share, and we're continuing to do our share in building affordable housing. But there's this group that we don't often talk about, and that's the group of, the average individual in American Canyon who doesn't make quite enough to qualify for a mortgage on their own, but they make just a little bit too much to qualify for any kind of down payment assistance, and that's a conversation that we need to have. And I intend to continue having. I've been speaking a lot more about it and talking to stakeholders about it, and it's something that I intend to continue doing. And also bringing the jobs that people are commuting out for. When I first ran for city council in 2016, We were asked a question actually at the Chamber Forum, but it was over at Eagle Vines back then. And it was, what kind of jobs do you want to bring to American Canyon? And I said, the bulk of our residents work in the medical profession or the tech world, and they're commuting out. We need to start talking about bringing those kinds of jobs here to American Canyon. And ever since I've been elected, we've opened a Clinic Olay location here, and we've also opened another medical building over by Dunkin' Donuts. We also were working on a tech incubator, bringing a tech incubator here. Unfortunately, Chris Allen left us and moved to England, and he was our connect with Plug and Play. But actually, Councilmember Mark Joseph and I have frequently talked about some kind of incubator that incorporates food and beverage, because that's where our strength is. I also always have supported increasing the minimum wage. I can't necessarily do that on my own, but I can definitely advocate for it, and I always have. And I have 3 seconds left, so thank you. I saw that countdown. That was absolutely.
Just to confirm, you don't have to use the whole time allotted. If you feel you need to stop sooner, you're
Absolutely,
welcome
thank
to.
you.
Okay, just want to clarify. All right, Belia, you're up with the same question. It has been determined that 75% of jobs in Napa County do not provide a living wage. As a county supervisor, how will you work to bridge this gap within our county?
Thank you. I think when you talk about wages, the first and foremost, you have to lead by example. And that is one thing that I have undertaken as a supervisor. It's starting with our employees, making sure that our employees are fairly compensated. And I'll tell you, one of the hardest ones to tackle was our in-home support service workers. One of the toughest ones to tackle. And stay tuned for that, because there's some great news. I have personally been working at statewide level to ensure that counties are able to have the support from the state to provide those wages to ensure that we are able to deliver services, because how you take care of your most vulnerable person is what establishes a standard for all. So starting from within, that's first and foremost, and continuously working with our employees. And they're the ones that are connected to our residents. The second one is looking at our development projects and looking at what jobs they're bringing in, what those wage bases are, and what is our ability to negotiate through appropriate development agreements their participation in job diversification, their participation in providing employee housing. And I did this just last month with a hotel project where I said, yes, you're going to pay the development impact fee for housing, but that's simply not enough. Making sure that we are continuously having a dialogue. This is an expensive place to live. We all know that. But we have to make sure that we are continuously providing for our most vulnerable person in our community with livable, decent wages.
Thank you, Belia. We appreciate that answer. All right, we will be moving on to the next question, and Belia will be leading with this one. The Newell Road extension is a hot topic in American Canyon. How will you support this project as a county supervisor?
Here we go. That's a great question. So the Newell project is a very interesting project here in Napa County and in American Canyon. And the reason is it is the one parcel, the one area that is reserved in the general plan for a zone change. It was specifically called out in the general plan in 2008. And so that requires us to work with those property landowners to see what that future is going to hold for those parcels. I will tell you, one of the things that is incredibly important to me is making sure that American Canyon has continuous connectivity with the greater part of Napa County. We have been beholden to Highway 29 for way too long. One time when Highway 29 flooded, it took me 3.5 hours to get to the city of Napa. My commitment to you in my first term was to open the Newell Connection, and I did that. The Devlin Road. And my commitment to you in this next term is working to make sure that we have the appropriate development agreements in place, that we are able to open another parallel access road, because we know that Caltrans is not coming to save us on Highway 29. We need to take this into our own hands to ensure that we have mobility north and south in our community.
Thank you, Belia. Miriam, the same question will be for you. The Knoll Road extension is a hot topic in American Canyon. How will you support this project as a county supervisor?
Thank you, Valerie. That's a very important question, and it is a very hot topic. I'm going to tell you how I've already been supporting the Newell extension in American Canyon, and I intend to continue to do so because I will not rest until Newell is connected all the way through to South Kelly Road. So when I was elected to the City Council in 2016, the Watson Ranch development had been under works for about 10, 13 years, depending on who you talk to. And they could not reach an agreement. And frankly, the city manager told me that it's not the current one, told me that it's a very complicated project, and therefore staff just kind of tosses it to the back burner. In my first 2 years on the City Council, I was the only council member appointed to the subcommittee to negotiate the Watson Ranch development agreement, and I did that. And that's very important to the Newell extension because with that came the right-of-way. And most recently, the City Council and I just certified the environmental impact report for the Watson Lane annexation. So I have been working on supporting the Newell extension, and I intend to continue working on supporting the Newell extension as a county supervisor. There's a very complicated segment that's in the unincorporated county. I've been working with the developers of that land that Supervisor Ramos just spoke of for years now, and we're working on getting it done. And as a supervisor, I intend to ensure that it gets done. Thank you, Valerie.
Thank you, Miriam. I appreciate that. All right, we'll be moving on to our next question, and Miriam will be leading this question. As a county supervisor, how will you support cultural diversity in Napa County?
Oh goodness, you're asking a question that is so near and dear to my heart, and I don't even know where to begin. Cultural diversity is something that I am, right? When I was elected to the City Council, I had asked for a proclamation recognizing the month of Ramadan. I am Muslim, that's part of my faith. I'm Middle Eastern, and we practice Ramadan just like many people in the United States practice Christmas. It is very much part of our culture. And a proclamation doesn't cost anything, right? Initially, it was agreed upon, and somewhere along the lines, it got twisted, and it never happened. And so what I did is I started hosting an annual Ramadan iftar dinner, and the first one I had over 200 attendees. Over 200 attendees, which showed the need in this community for cultural diversity. I had reached out to organizations actually in American Canyon for the second annual who refused to sponsor this event. The city refused to sponsor this event initially, although we were sponsoring an Easter breakfast. So I fought really hard for that, and now we have an annual proclamation recognizing the month of Ramadan. Many of you are probably aware, not too long ago, December 2022, some of my colleagues were trying to get me ousted from my LAFCO position because, according to the public comment, I'm a mom now and can no longer have time for this. As a result, we ended up having a 2-hour training session on gender-based discrimination and unconscious bias, which I believe we benefited from, my entire council and I. And at the end of the training, I felt like I was raw. I put my feelings out there, and I explained how I felt, and thankfully, my council colleagues were receptive to that, and they were raw too, and they put their feelings out there, and I really appreciate that. But I am the embodiment of cultural diversity, and I have fought for cultural diversity my entire life, and I will continue to do that. So thank you for that question, Valerie.
You're welcome. All right, Belia, the same question applies to you. As a county supervisor, how will you support cultural diversity in Napa County?
About 12 years ago, we had a very unfortunate incident in American Canyon, some might recall. Mixed families received letters criticizing Filipino and Caucasian marriages here in American Canyon. And I had received a call from a local news station, And I swear Mayor Garcia is never out of town. And I was vice mayor at the time, and he was out of town, and I had to be on the news to talk about it. And it was an incredibly heartbreaking circumstance of intolerance in a place where I think we embody everything that is cultural diversity in American Canyon. So the mayor and I, he comes back, thank goodness, and we put our heads together. And if you have ever had a We Love American Canyon sign in your yard, that's because the council got together and we said, we are not going to tolerate this. And that is, in fact, what I've been doing each and every day as a supervisor, promoting embracing the cultural diversity. One of the first things I did as a supervisor was joining my colleagues in a proclamation and declaring Napa County a welcoming community. I am the daughter of an immigrant. It is incredibly important that people know that the American experience is in fact embracing of all cultural diversity. And when you think about what does that mean, I will tell you about my little cul-de-sac. It is the best representation of diversity that there is in American Canyon. And that is exactly what we need to do. We need to live this diversity that we have and to celebrate it. It's not something about fighting, it's about embracing it.
Thank you, Belia. All right, and the next question will go to Belia.
Me.
Yep, I'm sorry, sometimes I get mixed up in my own notes here. And the question will be, during the pandemic, we saw the effects of having a tourism-heavy workforce in the county. How will you work to make a more diverse business community within the Napa County?
One of the things that we definitely did experience in the pandemic, and I would say that American Canyon is a standout in this. We have a very highly educated workforce here in American Canyon. So we had many people that were already working from home and doing the telecommute option from home. So I think one of the things we need to look at is what supportive services we can provide to ensure that those that have those home-based businesses that have that telecommuting option are staying here and are able to flourish in that capacity. The other thing we need to do is be able to attract those types of supportive businesses that are looking at being supportive and enhancing what we have. The truth is, we are not going to get rid of our tourism type of industry. We have a greatness in the world that is renowned for our region. Our soil is something out of a fairy tale here in Napa County. So what we've got to do is we've got to learn how to work with it, being creative. As the supervisor, one of the things I did was work with our wineries and work with the state of California to ensure that we were able to have outdoor tastings, that we were flexible. That creativity, we got to harness that and keep it for the future. When the next one comes, we're going to be ready to address it with that creativity.
Thank you, Belia. All right, Miriam, same question for you. During the pandemic, we saw the effects of having a tourism-heavy workforce in the county. How will you work to make a more diverse business community within the Napa County?
Thank you for asking that question, Valerie. So I always say that we have the best kids here in American Canyon, and we do. We have the best and the brightest kids here in American Canyon. Unfortunately, once they finish high school and they go to college, they find jobs outside of Napa County and rarely come back. Not very many people I went to school with here have come back or live here or live anywhere near me. So what we need to do, I believe, is figure out how to keep them here. If we have the best and the brightest, why are we letting them go? We need to figure out the kinds of jobs that they're taking, where they're commuting to, and attract those sorts of jobs to the county. I agree that we are not going to lose our tourism industry, but we do need to embrace it. So an example is something I alluded to earlier. We have a lot of people who are, we win national robotics competitions annually at American Canyon Middle School. We have a ton of our students leaving us for the tech world. So if our industry is predominantly food and beverage, wine, restaurants, why not bring some sort of tech incubator that's related to food and beverage into the Napa Valley And like I mentioned before, we were working on something similar. I was part of the Chamber's Economic Development Committee, and we were working on something similar. Frankly, the talks fell through, our lead champion moved, and those, it never happened. But it's an idea that I'm putting out there, and it's something that I would like to champion as a supervisor, diversifying our business. Another thing is, I work in Walnut Creek. It takes me less time to get to Walnut Creek than it takes me to get to downtown Napa during commute hours. So I feel like traffic is also intertwined with this question. In our community, traffic and housing is intertwined with everything business, and we need to figure out, if we can figure out how to keep people here, it'll also help us alleviate our traffic.
Thank you for that. All right, we're moving on to our next question, and Miriam, you will be leading this one. Outside of existing relationships, how will you work to strengthen the collaboration between the county and the city?
There we go. I said I love that question too. So as I mentioned earlier, I'm a relationship builder. When I joined the city council in 2016, I didn't have all the relationships that I have now. Ever since then, I know so many more people in this community. I already had existing relationships, but I've met all of the stakeholders, and I've met all of the community leaders, and I have great relationships with all of them, or the majority of them at least. And I intend to continue doing that as a county supervisor. When items come before me on the city council, my first instinct is to call the stakeholders, the people that this policy is going to affect. I don't claim to know everything. I do family law. Family law is not development. Family law is not, school education. Family law is not working with people who have certain disabilities. So my job is to identify the stakeholders and the people whose lives this will impact and reach out to them and meet with them. And that's a great way to build a relationship. People really appreciate you coming to them for their expertise and not just assuming that the policy that you set or you decide on is going to benefit them for the better. I have a couple of examples that I'm sure we'll get to later, but I'm a relationship builder, and I intend to continue building relationships.
Thank you. Belia, the same question for you. Outside of existing relationships, how will you work to strengthen the collaboration between the county and the city?
Thank you. One of the things that's important in that relationships is we have to look at the democracy that we have in place, and starting with the elected officials that you, the citizenry, appoint to represent you. And I think that that's incredibly important, and I am honored to be able to have existing relationships and the support and endorsement from your mayor, Leon Garcia, from your vice mayor, David Oro, and from your council member, Pierre Washington, and I have the same in the city of Napa. The support and endorsement from Mayor Scott Sedgley, from Vice Mayor Painter, from Council Member Luros, and from Council Member Alessio. Starting there, that's important. Making sure that when there is going to be a potentially controversial issue, you pick up the phone. I have the great benefit of being able to drive. I am Mayor Leon Garcia's free Uber to San Francisco every other month as we drive down to the Association of Bay Area Governments. And you know what? 90 minutes in the car in traffic is a great time to be able to catch up, to be able to have those communications and open dialogue, to reaching out to your city manager to ensure that we know what's coming each of our ways, and to your fire chief and your police chief as well. That's the starting point. And the next one is that engagement and availability of making sure you pick up the phone, you talk with people. You go to Safeway, you go to Le Paris, and you find out a whole lot about this community because people are ever more engaging each and every day, and I look forward to continuing that.
Thank you. We appreciate that answer. All right, we are going to move to our last question that we have planned. We have two that we're going to take from the community. Does anybody else have community questions that they would like to submit? We're going to do a power round at the end where each community question will get 1 minute. We will do what we have here, and then we'll do our closing for a 2-minute closing. So while Tom reviews that, I'm going to ask the last question, and Belia will start this one. Positive relationships are key to success. How will you foster positive relationships within the other county board of supervisors?
That was me
That's
first.
you.
Excellent. One of the things that is absolutely true, because every single Tuesday you are sitting, 5 of you, they are making decisions that everyone comes to the table with their own opinions as to what is best for our community as a whole. And I am incredibly proud of the work that we have done as a board. We've had some really hard decisions to make over the last couple years, acknowledging we dismissed our CEO. We had to. That was a very necessary change to improve our community, working with colleagues to ensure that that was a 5-0 vote. That is not an easy decision. But making sure you're putting in the work and listening to each other and your values and what you're hoping to accomplish. And what we were hoping to accomplish was to move our county forward in a transparent way where we are truly putting the needs of our residents first. So that's one where not all of us agreed. We haven't all supported each other, but being able to have those honest discussions of what is important, that's how you build those relationships. Making sure that when those votes don't go the right way, when it's a 3-2, whether you're on the good side or the bad side, you walk into your colleague's office and you say, are we good? Making sure. We've already had 2 3-2 votes. We had one on our housing element. We had one on a recent development of Lake Colleen and Angwin. And guess what? I was on the winning side of both of those 3-2 votes, but knocking on that door of my colleagues that weren't, that's where the real work happens to make sure that we have stability and predictability in our governance and that we are not the ones creating the chaos, that we are providing stability for our community.
Thank you, Belia. All right, the same question for you, Miriam. Positive relationships are key to success. How will you foster positive relationships within the other county board of supervisors?
Thank you for that question, Valerie. So I'm going to give you an example. I find that I express myself better with examples. When I was first elected to the city council, I didn't have relationships with my colleagues. Actually, you may remember, Mayor, I was untrusting of my council colleagues because campaigns sometimes bring out the worst in people, and I just didn't feel like I could talk to the mayor or Councilmember Leary at the time or Councilmember Joseph. It was just very uncomfortable. But it's something that you need to get over. When we're representing you guys, we have to work together as a body of 5. Same for the Board of Supervisors. And so one thing that I did is I started meeting with not only my colleagues on a regular basis, but also all of the department heads in the city on a regular basis. Whether we had business to discuss or not, I made sure that we met for lunch at least once a month to get to know one another better. Part of having positive relationships is the opportunity to get to know one another better. I do the same thing at work. Mayor Garcia, you do this all the time. You're a networker, you're a relationship builder as well. And I've already, the previous Board of Supervisors, I was meeting with pretty regularly as well, and I intend to do the same with the current Board of Supervisors, especially once they become my colleagues. I've already started reaching out to department heads in the county so that I can build relationships with them as well. It's very important to have positive relationships. Key word there is positive. Part of that positivity is transparency, trust, and being able to go to one another when something doesn't work out right. Councilmember Oro, not to call you out, but you and I have had a pretty rough relationship throughout the years, but I believe that having those difficult conversations with one another, we've been able to overcome that, and we've been able to work through that. And that's what's most important. I've never been dishonest about my feelings, and I've never hid what was going on. If something impacted me in a negative way, I talked about it with my colleagues, and I intend to do the same on the Board of Supervisors.
Thank you, Miriam. We appreciate that. All right, so that concludes the chamber questions that we have drafted for tonight. We have 3 community questions. You'll get 1 minute per question. We led off with Belia leading, so Miriam, you will lead the first question. And 1 minute, Alan, okay? How do you plan to involve young adults with disabilities to get a job here in American Canyon that currently none are available?
So that's a very interesting question. And the reason why I say it's an interesting question is because I don't pretend, like I said before, I don't pretend to know everything. So my assumption is that there are jobs available to people who are with disabilities because it's illegal to discriminate against people with disabilities when you're trying to hire them. So this issue has recently come to my attention. And the question is, how do you intend to incorporate them? Is that the question?
I'll read it one more time. How do you plan to involve
Sorry,
young
there goes
adults
my
with
time.
disabilities to get jobs here in American Canyon that currently none are available?
Okay, so I know that there are different kinds of programs at Napa Valley College, at UC Davis. I just recently saw that there's one at UC Berkeley as well to help people with disabilities transition from education into the working world. I'm very supportive of whatever I need to do to help that transition, whether it's providing internships at the County Board of Supervisors or at the City of American Canyon. I actually started off as a volunteer when I was 13 years old, and when I was 15 and a half, I was hired by Parks and Rec, and I don't see why there couldn't be similar programs implemented. You said you weren't going to be mean. You're good, sorry.
Time is up. Thank you, Miriam.
Understood.
All right, Belia, the same question for you. How do you plan to involve young adults with disabilities to get a job here in American Canyon that currently none are available?
One of the great ways in which we can support persons with disabilities in getting jobs is doing one of the things that we're already doing at the Board of Supervisors, using our master settlement dollars, our tobacco dollars, to support our family resource centers, to support an organization called Parents Can. Parents Can is actually fully devoted to supporting families with disabilities and with the spectrum of various disabilities. And they connect young adults with jobs. And in fact, we actually have one business in Napa County that purposefully goes out and hires people with disabilities, and that company is Lixit. And I have continuously maintained communication with them to ensure that they are having the connectivity they need with our family resource centers, and especially with Parents Can, who is that great disability advocate here in Napa County.
Can you hear me? Okay, here we go. Thank you, Belia. We'll be moving on to our next community question. They will get 1 minute for this as well. Belia, you will be leading. I haven't read the questions yet, so if I stumble across, just bear with me. Besides one of you on City Council and the other a current county supervisor, what other organizations or agencies do you belong to?
1 minute. I'm the president of the Association of Bay Area Governments. I'm an appointee to the Metropolitan Transportation Commission, and that will begin in January of 2025. I'm the county's commissioner on the Local Agency Formation Commission. I am the county's representative on the Fire Services Advisory Commission, on the Emergency Medical Care Commission. I'm the treasurer of the State Association of Counties and the co-chair of the State Association of Counties Health and Human Services Policy Committee. And I am also, let me breathe and tell you, I am on the Latino caucus of California counties. I am on the Bay Area Regional Collaborative. I am on the Bay Conservation Development Commission. I am on the Housing Methodology Commission, and I'm on the Regional Planning Commission for the Bay Area counties, and I am on the Regional Impact Council, and for more, go to my website.
Thank you, Belia. We appreciate that. Miriam, you'll be asked the same question. Besides one of you on City Council and the other a current county supervisor, what other organizations or agencies do you belong to?
Are we talking about just council-related agencies and organizations, or just everything?
It's
Okay.
from the community, so just list what you're part
There's
of.
no way I'm going to remember all of them, so also refer to my website. But the most important part of this question is, I don't join committees and commissions just to have titles. I like to make a meaningful impact in whatever organization I'm involved in. So with that, I'm the president of the North Bay Division of the California League of Cities. I am the alternate member on LAFCO, the Local Agency Formation Commission. I'm also the alternate city member for the Napa Valley Transportation Authority. I'm a board member for the Youth Opportunities Commission. I'm a member of the Napa County Bar Association, the Napa County Women Lawyers Association, Contra Costa County Bar Association, Alameda County Bar Association. I'm not really a part of a committee here. It's kind of a pseudo off-the-record committee for Napa News. I'm working with Napa News to pilot a program here in American Canyon to bring services down to the city. And like I said, I can't remember all of them, but hopefully I'm making meaningful impacts in every single position that I'm sitting in.
Thank you, Miriam. We appreciate that.
Absolutely.
And I know that was a tough question to try to remember everything you guys have on your plates, but thank you for the community question. We appreciate it. All right, we have another community question here. It's a long one. I'm going to try to break it up into pieces. If you need me to repeat any part of it, please let me know. Since the 2017 fires, fire mitigation and preparedness has been at the forefront of everyone's mind. The cost of fire suppression have gone up, and the pressure to continue to invest in fire mitigation is persistent. How will you secure revenue for the fire mitigation and suppression and protect the county's general fund? And this question goes to Miriam. If you need me to repeat it, I can.
That's a good question. Okay, so ever since the 2017 fires, I've been doing everything I can on the city level to help with fire mitigation efforts. An example of that is anytime a project has come before us, the first question I ask is to get the developer to underground the utilities, because if you remember, those fires started with those PG&E lines hitting each other and spread throughout the county like wildfire, no pun intended. So in terms of revenue, this question usually is asking about Measure L, and Measure L was a tax initiative to get a stream of funding for fire mitigation. But it didn't pass, and part of the reason for that, I believe, is because the cities and the county, another example, were not working well together, and so proponents of Measure L were saying that the cities don't understand the impact of fire, like I was saying before, which is not true. I only have 15 seconds left. I don't necessarily think that we cannot use the general fund to find a revenue source. My experience on the city council has showed me that we set policy through our budget. So if this is something that's important to the county board of supervisors, they will find revenue in the general fund to sustain fire mitigation continuously.
Thank you, Miriam. Belia, the same question will be for you. I will repeat it. Since the 2017 fires, fire mitigation and preparedness has been at the forefront of everyone's mind. The cost of fire suppression have gone up, and the pressure to continue to invest in fire mitigation is persistent. How will you secure revenue for the fire mitigation and suppression and protect the county general fund?
In the last 3 years, I have supported with the Board of Supervisors a $14 million investment to ensure that we are able to implement our community wildfire protection plans, the first in the state of California. That cost is only for new projects and not for maintenance of those projects. Add that to our increase in fire suppression costs because of the CAL FIRE adjustment in their schedule for firefighters. We have to make sure that we have a protected source of revenue. Discretionary funding from the general fund is about to take a $30 million hit because of our vehicle licensing fee shortfall. And in fact, every jurisdiction, including American Canyon, is going to have a hit if we're not able to fix that. We've got to make sure that the revenue source is secure. And in order to do that, creating a fire district for our unincorporated county and the municipalities that we serve that can be used for a parcel tax and guarantee a maintenance of effort from the county and ensure that we're using medical transport dollars to be able to fund our fire mitigation, that's how we're going to take our resiliency into our own hands.
Thank you for that, Belia. All right, that concludes the community question portion of the night. We're going to go with the closing. Belia will get 2 minutes for her closing. She will start, and Miriam will proceed afterwards.
Started with the opening. You want me to?
I keep going back and forth. Do we think that's fair? Is that fair? Okay.
Okay, great. Thank you so much for being here, for listening. I hope what you've heard today is that for the last 7 years, as your supervisor, I've been working each and every day committed to ensuring that not only am I representing your needs, the needs of our greater Napa County community, but that I am also making an impact, sitting at the table where decisions are made. It is not by accident that I became the president of the Association of Bay Area Governments. That is purposeful. Why? Because housing matters. We know that that is the biggest pressure that we are facing as a community. We have to make sure that we're protecting our agricultural preserve and our agricultural lands, and that comes with the additional pressure of making sure that we are building sufficient housing. So making sure I am at the table on those policy decisions is important to all of us. Making sure I'm at the table at the Metropolitan Transportation Commission where funding decisions are made for Highway 29, for the Soskel Junction project. Making sure that we are taking our own resiliency into our own hands by putting forward those solutions of a fire services administrator, of supporting our grant that brought us $50 million in resiliency, of making sure that we're looking at how we're going to continue to protect the general fund and increase our revenues, because the state of California is doing counties no favors. My job each and every day is to make sure that I am elevating the interests of our communities, to make sure that we are providing for our most vulnerable, and to make sure that we are safeguarding our quality of life. It has been an honor of a lifetime to be your supervisor for these last 7 years, and I look forward to having your support to continue. And with your help, American Canyon, for the first time ever, will have its board member be the senior member of the Board of Supervisors. And leadership matters more now than ever. Thank you.
Thank you, Belia. Miriam, you're up for your closing. You have 2 minutes to say whatever you'd like. Thank you.
Whatever I'd like. No parameters? Okay. Thank you. I appreciate your time and the opportunity to earn your votes this evening. Again, thank you so much for being here. I know there's better things to do after work than come and sit through something like this. I'm the homegrown candidate. I grew up here. I went to school here, and I'm raising my family here. In case you guys didn't notice, there's one in the belly. At this point, I have a track record of proven results, and I'll continue to fight the hardest for this community. As I mentioned previously, I ran against this incumbent in 2020 and was the top vote getter in the city of American Canyon. I'm running again because I believe that people want to see less talk and more action. Although voting for change is important, I have personally championed ordinances and fought for changes that my constituents have wanted to see. I'll give you an example. In 2016, when I ran, I advocated for term limits for the city council. Guess what? Now we have term limits for the city council, and it only took 6 years to get there. But it's something I'm very proud of, and that's just an example of something that I've done. My constituents know me. They know me on a deep level. They know how to reach me, and they know that I will always come to the table with an open mind. At this point, again, I have a track record, and I believe that it's clear that I'm not running for titles, I'm running for results. So thank you so much, and if you have more questions and you don't know how to reach me, my website is www.vote4mariam.com. My email address is on there, and that comes directly to me, to my cell phone, and I will respond to each and every one of you. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Well, I appreciate the forum tonight. You both did a wonderful job. Thank you to everybody in the crowd that submitted questions and came and supported tonight. We're very honored to be able to provide these platforms, and thank you again to our sponsors, Napa Valley Media TV, and to Western Wine Services for sponsoring and allowing us to bring these to our community in a great platform for our candidates here. So thank you both very much. We're looking forward to the outcome of the election. And for those of you who didn't hear me at the beginning, we are going to be doing our voter educational session. This is a great way to encourage young voters to come out to get registered, to learn more about it. We have the Women's League of Voters in the back. They're going to be partnering with us on the session. They also have voter information back there tonight. If you have any questions, you can stop by. Other than that, thank you all so much for coming out. Don't forget your DoubleTree cookie, and we'll see you for another forum back in September for the council and the mayor's race.
And Valerie, don't forget, thank you and your staff for putting this together. You guys did all the hard work. We just showed up.
Thank you. And yes, a shout out to the staff and the chamber board for always supporting and keeping it moving. Thank you. And look at that. We finished at exactly 8 o'clock. I'm going to call that perfection. Thank you for sitting with me. Thank you. How are your questions? I went a little rough on you guys. Maybe?
I'll give you your stuff now.
I feel like we did good work. The questions turned out great. Did they?
Yeah.
Were they a little too rough?
No.
No?
No,
Should we have done something different?
there are two ideas.